because nobody has had the same worst entrepreneurial moment. And that story that I force out of you is amazing. And nobody's had the same epiphany moment and how they turn that idea into success.
You hear all the bull about marketing every day. Make your money in your sleep. My new offer is crushing it. My guru could beat up your guru. It's time to go right to the source and get the truth about marketing. With your host, the founder of copychief.com, Kevin Rogers.
Hey, welcome back to The Truth About Marketing. It's Kevin Rogers here. Great show today with John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneur on Fire, the award-winning podcast that gets 1 million listens every month. Say what? John's interviewed 1,300 entrepreneurs and counting on his show. And his latest project is the Freedom Journal that guides you in accomplishing your number one goal in 100 days. He launched this thing on Kickstarter, and he raised $453,000 over 33 days, and it became the number 6 most funded publishing project of all time. Pretty amazing for a guy who started a podcast 3.5 years ago. So you can check out that at thefreedomjournal.com. And I think you're really going to dig this episode. John gets kind of riled up a few times talking about people who just don't understand what he's doing on his show. He not only shares the marketing tactic that's produced the most surprising results for him, but he also shares a holy crap moment now that he is a famous podcaster and marketer running a 7-figure business. So hold on tight. You're going to dig this. John Lee Dumas, are you prepared to tell the truth?
Kevin, I'm prepared to ignite the truth on fire.
I thought I'd use a little JLD magic in the opener here. So great to have you, bro. Really appreciate you making the time. And so aside of all the amazing success with Entrepreneur on Fire, you've also coached thousands on how to start and succeed with their own podcast, right? Through Podcasters Paradise. And I consider you sort of the poster boy for the best reason to start a podcast. So what is one of the worst reasons anyone would ever start a podcast?
So there are a number of bad reasons for sure to start a podcast, but the worst reason overall is because you want to sprint to success. Because the reality is, more than anything else, podcasting is a marathon. It's not coming overnight. It's not coming anytime soon. You are slowly simmering your way to success. So if you're looking to do it quick, there are other avenues to go that I can definitely recommend, but not podcasting.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people, it is an amazing networking tool, right? I mean, you can definitely reach out to people who otherwise wouldn't talk to you and say, would you like to be on my show?
Would you like to be my friends?
Can I pick your brain? Yeah, no one wants to hear that. But I think I'm starting to see a little bit of a trend of people using that kind of nefariously, right? And sometimes the show never launches. What do you say to people when they come to you and they want you on their show and the show hasn't even launched yet?
So I do have a pretty good process at this point. For me, kind of seeing the success that I've had in podcasting and having now a podcasting community of over 2,800 members, and really looking back and seeing that people paid it forward to me way back in the day, I still feel like I want to pay it forward when possible. So I do have a day a month where I conduct 10 interviews back to back. That's what I have limited myself to. And today's actually that day, Kevin. We're episode 4 of 10 right now. I have one day a month where I will do 10 back-to-back interviews. Now, the thing that I do is I say, hey, listen, I would love to be on your show. I have no requirements for your show currently, but likely the earliest time you're going to be able to book me is maybe a month, probably 2 months away from this point. So for me, the reality is this is like, I've had a lot of people that when they got my weekly reminder last week of this interview day, they'll cancel because their show never went live or something like that. So that's kind of my little way that I kind of do that trickle down naturally. I definitely recommend for people who don't kind of have that same pay it forward mentality where I feel like I do kind of owe it to up and coming podcasters running this community to say, hey, listen, if you have 10 podcast episodes out, if you are rocking and rolling, if you've been podcasting for more than 2 months, that is kind of where I draw the line. And I think that's totally fine for other entrepreneurs who are really successful and have a lot of limitations on time to do, because one quick stat, 93% of podcasts never make it past episode 7. So if you just put that one little requirement in there, hey, once you've hit 10 podcasts, once you've been live for 2 months, then reach out to me and we'll get something on the schedule. And I think that's a good thing for a lot of entrepreneurs who are getting a lot of requests because of the success that they've had.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And it's a good way to set a goal for somebody, right? It's like, okay, I need to get 10 in the can before I can approach people that I really want. It doesn't mean you're filling, 10 episodes of time wasting material, but, kind of go after the low-hanging fruit of people you can interview, get your groove on, and then get started.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great tip. So, you represent the avatar of your audience, John. I always say you've got one of the best videos I've ever seen about, why you do this. It's fantastic. It's on the About page of eofire.com. So I remember you talking quite a bit about it being easy for you to do these shows because you remember being the guy sitting in the car. The podcasts were fueling your dream. Is it still the avatar for you? You've had so much success. You're running this 7-figure juggernaut now. Are you still in touch with that same avatar, or has it adjusted a little bit?
So I'm in touch with that same avatar, but the interesting thing is I'm no longer that avatar.
Right.
And I see a lot of podcasters and really successful entrepreneurs in general kind of go through this evolution. And it really is this kind of evolving period that we should be open to. Because when I launched EO Fire, I was Jimmy, whom I named my avatar. I was that mid-30s guy that was driving to work every day to a job he didn't like, to sit in a cubicle at a job that didn't inspire him, to drive home, and then to wonder why I was spending most of my waking hours doing those things I just didn't enjoy doing. I was that person. The minute that I launched the podcast, I no longer was that person because I was now a podcast host and I had to take up that new role, but I never lost touch with who my perfect avatar is, who that targeted listener is for EO Fire. And so I'm not speaking to me now, the podcast host, whom I've become. I'm still speaking to Jimmy, that 36-year-old with 2 kids that drives to work, that comes back, spend time with his family and his wife. And then he says, why? Why am I doing these things that don't inspire me? So yes, your avatar can evolve, and you definitely as an entrepreneur, small business owner will evolve. Mm-hmm. But the reality is never lose touch on who your perfect listener is.
That's fantastic. That brings us to, let's talk about the Freedom Journal for a little minute here, because first of all, congratulations on the accomplishment.
Thank you.
Just launching it and the amazing success. Number 6 Kickstarter campaign. That's mind blowing, dude.
Thank you.
And so, talk about why that, right? I mean, you're sitting in a position where you have nothing but opportunity. I'm sure it's not easy to choose what you're going to put your energy into. Why the Freedom Journal?
It's a great question, and it really goes to the core of what I believe is the success or the reason for success of EO Fire. I never have lost touch with my audience. I've never lost touch with Fire Nation. I continue to engage them. And frankly, Kevin, I am able to engage with Fire Nation better now in a lot of ways than I was even able to way back 3 or 4 years ago because of tools like Snapchat, like Blab that are now available that make it so easy for me to just flip on, and do a nice little JLD rant or launch a Blab and just have 100 people jump on it and engage and come in the same chat with me. Because of these new tools, I'm even able to engage more, and I'm moving further in that direction, closer to my audience with that direct contact, that direct connection. Because why? Now I can say, Fire Nation, what are you struggling with? They can tell me their pain points, their obstacles, their challenges. And if I'm listening, I can then create the solution in the form of a product, a service, a community. And that is exactly how the Freedom Journal was birthed, because I listened to my audience. They said, John, how do the Kevin Rogers of the world, that are your guests, that are successful and inspiring entrepreneurs, what's their magic bullet? And I say, well, listen, first off, they work really hard. And that will always be a reality. Mm-hmm. But I knew that there was something more. And I wanted to give Fire Nation something more. So I sat down, this is early 2015. I thought about it, really gave it some deep thought. And I realized that people like yourself, Kevin, and my other 1,300 successful guests of EO Fire, they know how to set and accomplish goals. They successfully do those things. And I realized that so many of my listeners struggle at that very thing. So I said, what can I create? What solution? What can bridge that gap? And I wanted to do it right. I had the means, because of the success that we've had, to create this beautiful faux leather gold embossed journal. Pre-order 20,000 copies at no small expense, out $150,000 out of pocket before a single journal was sold. But because I knew that my audience needed it, I knew that they would support it because they knew, liked, and trusted me for now over 3.5 years, so that when we launched it a year later via Kickstarter, it rocketed up to $453,000 in just 33 days, over 7,000 backers, buying more than 10,000 journals, becoming the 6th most funded publishing campaign of all time on Kickstarter. And the sales keep coming. We're doing between $800 to $1,200 a day. And then there's days that we spiked up to like $4,000 a couple of days ago, every single day with the Freedom Journal, because the sales just keep on coming, because people realize, yes, I have been lacking a tool that will guide me in setting a SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound, and then an accountability partner to guide me through the accomplishment of that goal in 100 days. It struck a nerve, Kevin, and we're here for you.
That's awesome, dude. Because, man, does 100 days go by fast, right?
Boom.
How many times could you go, yeah, I was going to start that thing. And you were like, wow, that was 100 days ago.
So true.
If only there were a book, something I could write in each day. That's awesome, dude. Really cool. So check it out, man. You've gotten, a little bit famous, certainly in our industry, right? Give me, I want to hear like one of your holy crap moments, right? I mean, it's only been 3.5 years.
Right.
Dude, you got millions of listeners every month.
Yeah.
Give me a time you found yourself in a room or sitting across from somebody and you're playing it cool, but in your head you're going, how did I get here?
I can give you one just a couple days ago. So I've basically never told this story on a podcast before because it just happened. But it was like 2 weeks ago, and then it ended up happening 2 days ago. But 2 weeks ago, I get an email, and it just was from this, email address. It was a little nondescript, and it said, "Hey, John, love what you're doing. I'd love to get on your show. Here, my assistant CC'd on here. See if you guys can find something that works in my schedule. Tony Robbins." And I was like, whoa, wow. Like somehow I'm on Tony Robbins's schedule. I'm on his peripheral somehow. And of course, that was the only initial contact that I had with him. But then his assistant took over from that point. And I said, listen, dude, I don't want to sound like, I'm wide open here, but I will make myself wide open for Tony Robbins to come on EO Fire. So you just start shooting me times that work and we'll make it happen. And then 2 days ago, the assistant reached out and said, rando, but we have 3 openings today that were literally 23-minute blocks. I'm talking like 1:13 p.m. to 1:36 p.m. It was like a 23-minute block that was just like, it wasn't like even like normal times. It was just like, it showed you how back-to-back he was. And I said, I'll take that one. Please confirm. And they did. And I had what ended up, because he pushed it, not me, a 30-minute podcast interview with Tony Robbins, where I was having one of those moments the whole time. Like, I'm actually saying something and Tony Robbins is actually responding to my words. Like, this is an oh, wow moment.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. And how much extra prep did you do for that interview, like technically and psychologically?
Well, it's pretty funny because you say extra prep, because people ask me all the time, like how much prep I do for my podcast interviews. And the answer is always 0. And by 0, I literally mean 0.1%, because this is what will happen. I'll have, say, 10 interviews lined up for the day for EO Fire. 3 minutes before that interview is starting, I don't even know who I'm about to interview. Like, it's been all pre-scheduled months in advance. My VAs have taken care of all the communications. So I'll just pop up my schedule and I'll just click on, the person I'm about to interview in 3 minutes, say, oh, like it's Kevin. Let me just brush up on his 50-word bio so I don't stumble over it. And then, Kevin, how's it going, brother? You ready to ignite? And boom, we're into it. And that's how I do my interviews. And it's a personal decision. And I don't think everybody should do it this way, but I want to approach most of my interviews with the same curiosity that my listeners will have for not knowing that person either. Because I am a firm believer in the curse of knowledge, where when we know something, a lot of times we just assume that other people know that same thing. So I am purposefully clueless on most of my interviews. I mean, of course, when I interviewed you, Kevin, like we had met, like I knew you, so I wasn't clueless. But most of the people that I do interview, I've never met before, I've never talked to before, and a lot of them I've never heard of before. I mean, they definitely passed a series of really intense criteria to get to me, but I don't necessarily know them, so I'm very curious, and I come at that from the area of Fire Nation. But to answer the core of your question, like I spent about an hour like brushing up before the Tony Robbins interview, and I probably should have done 2 hours worth.
It's like, what hasn't this guy been asked, right? It's like, it's even for today for you. I was like, I want to respect your time. Similar thing. You've got 25 minutes in and out. You made it clear. I made a clear promise to you. We would honor that, right? And
Right.
so, I had backup things. I had my mic with me if for any reason I couldn't get into the office. Certain guests get you to step up your game a little bit, and that's a nice thing.
So true.
It's a nice gift you're giving to people, and so is Tony. So, very cool, man. So, so is that the superpower? As entrepreneurs, we talk about having the superpower, the thing we should be doing, and hire everything else out. You mentioned having VA set up all this stuff, the monotony, right? Is it you being on a live mic for you? Period.
I can definitely tell you that being on a live mic is something that really fires me up. I mean, and this is true, and this might kind of shock some people, but I think it would shock some people just like a non-runner would be shocked by running 26.2 miles tomorrow. Like, you can't do it. You got to train for that. And I trained to get to this point. And now the first Monday and first Tuesday of every month, I do 15 back-to-back interviews. That's how I roll for EO Fire. I knock out all 30 interviews for the month in 2 days. And I love it because every single time I get on and that microphone red light goes on, doesn't even matter if I was dragging a little bit before the interview. I'm like, boing, like I'm in, I'm on, and I'm on for that entire interview. And I actually get better throughout the day because I'm talking to inspiring and successful entrepreneurs. They're firing me up even more than coffee, any kind of caffeine could do. So that is a superhero power of mine for sure. Is like when I know the mic is on, I light up inside, I get excited, and I get really fired about the content we're talking about.
But so, that's the driver of the business, obviously, right? You mean you're the only one who can do it in your company, obviously. You stop doing it, a lot of things stop happening. What's the next one? Would it be speaking, being on stage?
I love being on stage for that core 45 minutes to an hour. Like when I'm on a stage, Kevin, I'm like, this is awesome. I have the attention of everybody in the room. I really have a great message, I feel, to share with them. And I really just want to deliver incredibly well. I dislike the entire process it takes to get on that stage, the travel to it, the wind up, the, getting all the slides ready. I'm horrible preparing for talks. And that's why I usually go in with just like 2 slides with 2 words on them. And then I just kind of ad lib from that point. And then, it's after it's done and you get to say, hello to everybody. And then it's like, okay, now I get to get back to where I was. So I love speaking from stage, but it's going to become a much smaller part of my business going forward because I've kind of gone through that season of speaking for the past couple of years. And I realized that I really operate best for my audience when I'm at home, when I'm in front of the microphone, talking to you, being able to do 10 of these interviews in 5 hours instead of one 45-minute talk in front of, 250 people that took me a whole weekend to actually get to and travel to, et cetera. So that's kind of my mindset. But again, that was a season of my life that I'll never give back because I had to get to the point where I can now be here and say, okay, now I know where my strengths are.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Let's talk about Snapchat for a minute. I know you're really into it. You did a great episode with Joel Comm where you guys talked all about why you're doing it, what you see as important about it. Tell me what it's like to have a following like you do. You've done 2 really cool Snap swaps. You did one with Joel. You just did one with Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, Gary could have done better, by the way. He was only okay. Joel was amazing though.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Joel, man, just every day he comes up with something really creative, really informative, brilliant. And you do rants, and I've talked about this where, you do what people want from you already, which I think is really cool, right? And so what do you love about Snapchat? Why is it important for us to, as entrepreneurs, to be using Snapchat?
I love everything about Snapchat. It's my favorite subject to talk about right now by far because going back to something we've already brushed upon that really circles back, connecting to your audience, engaging with your audience, having that direct line of communication, your finger on the pulse, and being able to actually have conversations with them and say, what are you guys struggling with? Like, what are you guys excited about? Like, how can I create solutions for your problems? Like, that's how all the best things that I've created thus far have come to be, is because of those conversations. And now with Snapchat, it's just like this wide open door because I get emails all the time from people that say, John, can you mentor me? And my answer always was just no, because I don't mentor one-on-one anymore. But now I can say no, but I mentor people directly through Snapchat every single day. Like if you want to be mentored by me, Follow me on Snapchat. I am going to give you a rant a day. You're going to also get a behind the scenes look of what I'm doing, people that I'm hanging out with, the fun that I'm having. You can skip the things that are boring to you. You can, watch the things that are exciting and meaningful to you. And you can just really get direct mentorship from me because I'm going to give you my best through Snapchat. And I love that. And with the most recent update, it's even more impressive because I used to, just rip through when people would Snapchat me directly. And I always would reply with, a pound, fire, pound. Because it would just, I'd get hundreds and hundreds of snaps. And that was like a really quick way for me to respond to people because I wanted to respond to them. But now with the update, I can hold on for just a second and say, yo, Kevin, thanks for that, man. Appreciate the love, brother. Boom, let it go. I'm on to the next one. And now I can rip through in the same amount of time and actually be giving voice messages to all these people that's blowing their minds because it's real. They know it's not my VA. They know it's me. And it's bringing a more intimate, closer connection with them. And Snapchat's amazing for all of those reasons. eofire.com/snap. You want to be following me because I really have fun. And I even say, I'll make you pee your pants, but just a little.
You can still go out to dinner.
Yes. Yeah.
But you'll be uncomfortable, but nobody will know. Yeah, it's super cool. I'm loving it too. You know what? Here's what I think is important about it. From a marketing standpoint is that, look, we know everything's mobile. We know video is going to rule mobile. And it's teaching us to talk in 10-second increments.
Yeah.
To be terse, to be informative, to keep the camera moving, to make things interesting. I think those are huge new habits that we're developing that are really going to pay off.
Stories, because that's what they name it. And that's what I love. They call them stories. And that's where the success of EO Fires come from, because I got that back in 2012, that the things that were missing from podcasts were the stories. So I kind of just laugh at people, literally, like I will laugh in their face when they kind of look at me and they'd be like, John, like, isn't it so boring to ask the same questions every day? Or people say, John, isn't it so boring? You just ask the same questions all the time. I'm like, you are missing the entire point of what I'm doing. I am bringing out the most unique stories you've ever heard from every guest that I've had on, because nobody has had the same worst entrepreneurial moment. And that story that I force out of you is amazing. And nobody's had the same epiphany moment and how they turn that idea into success. It's EO Fire is the most unique show that's out there, where some people who, again, clueless, don't get it, will never find success, think that it is, the most formatted, bland show. And I'm like, you just don't get it. Like, go back to government work, because that's what you're going to get.
And I'll say this for your show as well. And I've bragged about this a lot. As a guest on the show, you set up the best opportunity to hit a home run.
Yeah, softball, baby.
You get to hear examples of good shows, bad shows. The way you guys prepped me to do your show, all I had to do was think through my answers and then be spontaneous, but know what I was going to say when we went live. And, it couldn't have been an easier thing to do.
Well, Kevin, I got to be honest with your listeners right now. You did not hit a home run on our podcast. You hit a grand slam, brother.
Oh, man, thanks. I appreciate that.
eofire.com/Kevin Rogers.
Holding my own in the top 10. I'm very proud of that.
Yes, you are. Come on. There are 1,300 episodes now. It's like 0.13%.
That's why I don't like hearing that you did Tony Robbins, because I know he's going to make his way into the top 10. And I'm hanging there at number 9, and I'm like, no.
Hey, Fire Nation votes, not me. And if I voted, you'd be number 1. So.
That's sweet. All right, let's get to the essential question of this podcast. John Lee Dumas, what is the one thing you've done in your marketing that has produced the most surprising results?
Engage. It's going to come back to the theme of engaging. People are just like, I will only do things at scale and leverage. And I say, I will only do things that's a direct one-on-one connection with me and my listeners, because that's how I learn. That's how I amplify. So no, the one-on-one engagement and connections aren't scalable, aren't leverageable, but the products and services and the freedom journals that I create from that are.
Awesome. Boom. Talk about being terse and on point. That's awesome, bro. Great stuff. So tell me, what's next? What's happening in your freedom journal right now? What's your next 100 days look like?
Well, it's pretty interesting. It's a great question, because I really only look like 3 months ahead. So whenever podcast guests be like, what are the next 3 to 5 years? My answer is, I don't know, because I really don't know. I don't even think about it, because this world is going to be so different in 3 to 5 years from now. There will be no energy or bandwidth that I will spend on trying to guess or plan for that. But something pretty cool, I'm not sure when this is going live, Kevin, but on May 1st, Kate and I are moving permanently to Puerto Rico.
Wow. Puerto Rico. Why'd you choose Puerto Rico?
A lot of reasons. We wanted to get a place on the ocean that we maybe, buy at some point. We wanted to have a new adventure in a cool area and maybe try a different coast. We've been on the West Coast for a long time. And 4% flat tax rate is awesome.
That is awesome. Wow. That's going to be, and then there's going to be a whole slew of entrepreneurs now moving to Puerto Rico.
I am spearheading this move. Hey, it's not 4% like state tax. This is overall.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking combined federal and, Puerto Rico tax is 4% because you don't pay federal tax as a Puerto Rico resident.
Amazing. And you've checked out the Wi-Fi. You're good there?
Yeah, that's a question mark. Everybody's telling me it's good, but I don't believe until I'm there.
Yeah. So how do you, when you make a decision like moving there, how many times did you visit before you landed on that?
I've been there twice. Kate's been there 0 times.
Wow. There's faith. That is love right there, my friend. Cool. Well, John Lee Dumas, man, thanks for doing this, bro. JLD and the place to be. Love you on Snapchat. Of course, love Entrepreneur on Fire. Everybody go check out The Freedom Journal at thefreedomjournal.com. Keep doing everything you're doing, and we'll keep listening and applauding, brother. Thanks.
Holla.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the Truth About Marketing podcast. If you like this show and you think other people would like this show, the best way to spread the word is by reviewing and rating the show in iTunes. Just log in, click review, leave a big old fat 5-star review, and let everybody know that you dig the show so that they can dig it too. To get all the links and resources we mentioned on today's episode, please go to copychief.com/TAM, as in